Real talk continues now with the Jimmy Barrett Show on KPRC 950.
4:32 now, AM 950 KPRC. All right, a Texas judge today in Fort Worth gave a sweeping and dramatic religious freedom victory. Now, I'm sure this is not over. This is by no means the final word. But this judge blocked the federal government from enforcing the Obama administration's contraceptive mandate against any employer or individual who objects to the provision of contraception on religious grounds. In other words, to use the analogy, you're a Catholic church, you hired somebody to be an administrative assistant in your office, and you don't want to provide them with a paid benefit of birth control because it's against the Catholic teachings. That seems like common sense to me. But the Obama administration wanted to force everybody into providing this particular benefit. Joining us to talk about Dr. Hotze. So this is just another step in the process, I'm assuming. This is not done, right?
Well, Jimmy, interestingly enough, this may be the end of it because the Trump administration has opposed, this was an Obamacare and under the Obama administration that passed the contraceptive mandate for all individuals and all businesses, which I object to on religious grounds as a Christian, because many of the birth control methods that are used in the contraceptives are abortifacients. They're drugs that cause an abortion. After morning pill, for an example. So that violates my Christian faith. And the Trump administration has not supported that. And so when we sue the federal government, we happen to be suing a government that is now in the hands of a pro-life president, President Trump. So it would be like in the old days suing against the Obamacare on something that the Obamacare really liked, and they wouldn't fight it. So we feel like the Trump administration probably will not appeal this. This was in a federal district court, and we believe they're going to let the court, or they're going to let the ruling stand. But interestingly enough, none of the pro-abortion groups understood what was going on fast enough, and they tried to intervene late, and they weren't allowed to intervene. So it may be this stands without having to go to the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans or to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
We're hoping that's the case.
Would that be something?
It was, and it was really dramatic. And the reason I did this is, as a Christian, as a conservative, as an American who believes in liberty, and who believes in the Constitution, the First Amendment, of course, talks about that we have, you cannot establish a religion or prevent the free exercise thereof. And as a Christian, this violated, the government's going to tell me what to do, and that it's bad enough the government tells me I have to provide insurance. I always have. It's like people telling me I have to wear a seatbelt. I don't like the government to tell me what I have to do. I don't like anybody to tell me what I have to do. There's 10 commandments that are hard enough to keep. You follow me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Without having people putting rules all over you. So I wear a seatbelt. I wore it before there was a seatbelt law. I've always provided health care for my staff, and we sponsor that. And it's we're self-insured, have a high override. But now the government's going to tell me what I have to do, and they're going to tell me I'm going to have to provide abortion care or contraceptive care or other things, and I'm going to go like, no, sir, that's just not the way this works. In America, I have the liberty, the religious liberty, and I have, and there was the religious, there was the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in 1993 that this decision was based upon, and of course, that's all based upon the First Amendment right, freedom of religion, and freedom to exercise your religious rights. So that's what we've done, and really, what I want to be able to do, Jimmy, is I want to encourage other Christians and people who love liberty to assert their rights. This is not only religious rights. We've got free speech rights that are being impinged upon by Facebook and Google and all that. You know about that and have talked about that.
Sure.
But we need to stand up against these regulations because there's a war where the secularists are promoting the culture of death, the killing of the unborn, and those of us who adhere to a biblical faith and who revere life and respect life. So there's a cultural battle here, and you're involved in it on the radio program. You hear it every day, and I know you're on the right side of that. And you've heard the old saying, all that's necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Yes.
Well, are women to do nothing? So what we have to do is we've got to stand up and do something, for crying out loud. And it's time that Christians, conservatives, people who love liberty, demonstrate the courage of their convictions and stand up and oppose the civil government when it violates our fundamental these are God-given rights. Read the Declaration of Independence. Our rights are derived from God. They're God-given rights. And when somebody tries to impose their oppressive values upon us and make us kowtow to them, sir, it's time to take a stand. And so that's what I've done here. And I hope this will encourage other individuals who love liberty, who love freedom, who love God, to take a stand, take our country back.
We're talking to Stephen F. Hotze, MD. Where's your practice, sir?
Well, I have the Hotze Health and Wellness Center. I'm out on I-10. I've got Hotze Vitamins, Hotze Health and Wellness Center, and I have a compounding pharmacy. I believe everybody needs a doctor who'll coach them on a path of health and wellness naturally without pharmaceutical drugs, so they can have energy, vitality, and enthusiasm as they march through their lives. That's what we do. So we have a staff of 85. I have 85 on my staff. This suit was brought by my management company. All my staff members belong to a management company that then leases it to these different businesses that I have. So it was the management company, Braidwood Management, was the representative of class of all other businesses in the country who don't want to supply who don't want this contraceptive mandate to occur. Now, let me tell you, the penalty was, if I lose this case, they're charging me $100 per staff member per day, which works out to $240,000 a month.
Wow. Yeah, that would get your attention.
That's the penalty.
Yeah.
That's how onerous it is. And so I said, sir, I just said, they can come to, I'm going after them. I'm going to go after them. What you have to do with a bully, even the federal government, you got to stand up and you got to hit them in the face. So we're not going to put up with this. And so that's what we've done. So this isn't the first time I sued the federal government. It won't be the last. And I beat them before. I beat the FDA before. So we just got to be,
Yeah.
This is what, hey, Jimmy, I want to encourage everybody out there, for crying out loud, don't let these Marxist, communist, socialists kowtow you, pro-abortionist, pro-homosexual, kowtow you into slithering off, and be intimidated. There's us. I mean, we're the majority.
Now, just out of curiosity, Dr. Holtze, I'm curious here, from the standpoint of, from the liberty standpoint that you brought up.
Right.
Your employees, obviously you did want to provide contraception as a benefit. Completely understandable. I completely get that. But you don't have any mandate of the women who work for you to not use contraception, correct?
No. They're free to do what they want to do. And for crying out loud,
you just don't want to pay for it. I get it.
I don't want to pay. And if nobody's keeping them from getting it.
Right.
I don't know if they get it or not. If for crying out loud, it's not expensive. It's cheap. It's cheap. I mean, birth control. There's on the phone. I don't want to go through all the different birth control methods a person can use. But I'll say this: my wife and I are married 50 years, and we practice birth control. We were Planned Parent people. We have 8 children, 23 grandchildren. Hello.
Good for you. Well, at least I know what you like to do in your spare time. Dr. Holtze, let me run this past you here, because I think this was one of the next stories I was going to do today, and it kind of dovetails into what you're talking about to a certain extent. New York's Medicaid system paid out more than $60,000 for sexual and erectile dysfunction drugs for 47 sex offenders over the last 6 years.
Hello.
This is called a bureaucratic nightmare. Medicare made more than $930,000 in payments for erectile dysfunction drugs for recipients, including sex offenders, that were barred under the program. So they should have never got them to begin with. They were barred. But because of the bureaucracy involved in something like Medicare, Medicaid, it just slipped right through the cracks.
Well, there's one way to cure people that are pedophiles and sex offenders. You know what you do to males, and to stop that, it's real easy. You remove their offending part, and they will never do that again. and you do that to a few people and everybody gets the message, I better not be doing that.
Hang on a second.
So,
Can you hang on? I got a quick commercial break I need to take. Can you hang on to the other side?
I'm here.
Okay, hang on. We got to pay a couple of bills, Doc. I know you know how that works. We'll be back with more in just a moment here on AM 950 KPRC and the Jimmy Barrett Show. AM 950 KPRC. Stephen F. Holtze, MD. He has a practice here in the greater Houston area, is with us. We're talking about his big win in court today. It's a district judge, right, that made this ruling?
I'm sorry?
Was it a district judge that made this ruling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a federal district judge in Fort Worth, Judge Reed O'Connor. And he issued a 35-page opinion. What we did is we made a motion for a summary judgment, basically, which says, Judge, there are no facts involved in this case. It's a decision on the law. You can make the decision without having the trial. And so both sides, our side, put in our complaint with our motion for summary judgment. The opposition put in their response, and he ruled in my favor. So it spared us from having to go through a long trial on this because there were no facts involved. It was a decision based upon the law. And he said, based upon the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993 and the First Amendment, you cannot force a person to do something against their religious convictions. There's no compelling interest to do that because we're not preventing anybody from doing anything. Just don't make me pay for it. It would be like them passing a law saying, well, everybody's got to contribute to Planned Parenthood. Well, I don't want to contribute to Planned Parenthood. I want to contribute to, Houston Foundation for Life. That's what I'm going to contribute to. Oh, no, you got to do that under penalty of law. Well, that would be wrong. But it's the same way to force somebody to pay for medication that they believe causes the death of unborn children. And that's what most people don't know this. I do natural approaches to health. I work with natural hormones. Birth control pills in and of themselves are very dangerous because they're counterfeit hormones. They're not natural. There are other ways to protect yourself without poisoning yourself with chemicals to keep from getting pregnant. But a lot of women use these things, and they lead to, down the line, they can lead to breast cancer and a host of other health problems. We've seen 32,000 patients in the last 30 years at Hotze Wellness Center. 25,000 of them are women. Many of them have had birth control, and they've not done well on it. That's not the reason I'm opposing this. I just wouldn't use it for medical reasons. I don't think it's healthy. But besides that, many of the birth control pills are abortifacients. That means they're drugs that cause an abortion. They strip the lining at the inner of the womb. So if you have an embryo you fertilized egg, it's an embryo, young life, you just abort it before it even is able to take hold. Or you take a morning after pill. So, or you take a pill later, it could cause an abortion. You can take some other things a month or two later and cause an abortion. And I revere life. God creates life. I'm sure not going to take it, and it's just wrong. And we're fighting that culture. You saw what they did in New York a couple of months ago. They're going to let them kill the baby up to the last minute outside the womb.
In my former state of Virginia as well, and I never thought I'd see that.
Hello. I mean, you're going to go like, really? What's wrong with society? So there's a culture war. There are those of us that have a biblical view, a historic Christian view. If you happen to be a believing Jew, then you've got a biblical view. You know that life is precious. It's God-given, and you can't take it away, and you don't want to be involved in that. But there's those, they love death. The opposition loves death. And so we're in a cultural battle, and it's not like we can all get along. There's no compromise. You either love life or you love death. You can't say, well, I like a little bit of life, a little bit of death. You pick your poison, I'll pick mine. No, it's not that way. We have standards. There's right and wrong. And somebody's going to impose their standard upon society. It's either going to be those of us who historically have run society, or it's going to be the Marxist, communist, secularist, socialist, pro-abortionist, pro-homosexual. They're either going to run society and they're going to intimidate you and me, and all of a sudden we're the bad guy, we're the haters, the biggest, the no counts. We need to be removed from society, or we're going to stand up and say, no, that's not right. Somebody's going to win the battle.
Dr. Holtze, by the way, thank you again for waiting through that commercial break. I was sitting there during the commercial break going, he probably thinks he's stuck in my waiting room. Waiting to be seen by Jimmy Barrett. Who's he think he is, a doctor?
Well, Jimmy, I tell you what, I'm proud of you that you're willing to take a stand and you bring good people on to advance conservative and Christian values, and that's you're to be commended. And we need that. There are other men, and there's some other men on the radio around town that do that. And without you guys, we'd be in a heap of hurt.
Well, I'm happy to carry the water, sir. I appreciate that very much. Hey, to get back to the Medicare Medicaid thing for a second, not specifically the erectile dysfunction drugs. I mean, that's one thing. But I think it's a great example, is it not? I mean, for those who think that socialized medicine is somehow the answer to what we need to do in this country, is that not a perfect example of wasting taxpayer dollars for a system that just doesn't work?
Well, Jimmy, you know as well as I do what socialism brings about in society, right?
Yep.
Yeah, everybody, look, it's been around. Why don't we just look at Venezuela? In 1992, they were the third richest country in the Western Hemisphere. In 1997, they were the second largest purchaser of Ford F-150s. The middle class had cars. And in 2001, they elected Maduro, who was a socialist president. And then he ran on income equality. We've got to have everybody has to have an equal income, and it's just like the Democrats now or the socialists now. It's unequal. Some people have more money than we do. Well, maybe somebody worked harder. Maybe they inherited. That's their money. It's not yours. And then they had private health care. Private health care was completely socialized in Venezuela in 2004, and then they had all free higher education in 2007. Then they banned the ownership of guns in 2009. And then Bernie Sanders said Venezuelans are really living the American dream in 2012. And then all the opposition leaders got in prison. And they had food shortages. And they suspended the elections in the Constitution. And now they're massacred in the streets. Oh, hey, all you millennials, you like socialism? Why don't we just let you go down and stay down in Venezuela for about a year?
Yeah.
It happened in France in 1790. It happened in Russia in the Russian Revolution in 1919. It happened in China. It happened in Vietnam. It happened in Cambodia, the slaughter fields. It happened in Cuba. It's happened in Venezuela. And these people want socialism in America, which is communism without a gun. Come on. Get a life.
Dr.
What are
Holtze?
these people thinking?
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a stinking suspicion you're the kind of guy that if I were to walk in your office, you'd say, Barrett, you need to drop 20 pounds, and I'm going to show you how.
Sir, come out and see me, and we'll put a tiger back in your tank.
I'd love it. I could use a tiger in my tank. Clearly, you have one of yours, sir. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stephen F. Holtze, MD, joining us here on AM 950 KPRC. Woo, he's a pistol. I like that.